Hello, hello, hello. How do I sound? Welcome to my very first YouTube video, probably my last, but I wanted to make a video for some friends who were interested in a couple of lenses that I use. Well, one I just got today, but so this is the lineup of Leica's 35mm Summicrons. Chronological, so this one right here is the very first version. It is brass, it is beautiful. It is sometimes called the 8 element. I call it the 8E. I think other people do too. I'm not sure though. I've been using it almost a year, and it is a lovely lens. I like it, and so I got curious though. There's a Ligtht Lens Lab is made a knockoff of it, and it's a lot cheaper. So I just got the idea of like, well, if the Ligtht Lens Lab is about as good, then maybe I could sell my Summicron and just use the Ligtht Lens Lab. So I got one to try. Got it today actually. And so, I'm gonna put it on my Leica and shoot some black and white film. But today I just put it on my Fuji X-E4 and did a little testing on a crop sensor, just because that's so easy and a good place to start. So, here are the sample shots I took, and again, I'm mostly making this for people who are going to look at this and maybe see some things that I didn't. It's interesting that they tried to clone this a lens that's worth cloning. It's like, well, how'd they do? But also, is it the better choice once you take into account the cost of things? So this is the Leica lens, and a few things that I've read that I wanted to try and see if I could also see is that um, that one of the biggest differences between the Summicron and the Ligtht Lens Lab version is actually the transition from what's in focus to what's out of focus. And so I went straight to that. And so this shot is, I focus here on my World Specialty Coffee map. So I'm focused here. A little bit about my settings. These are raw files. I haven't touched them. These are just, look over here, right? Just defaults. And so things are maybe not as sharp and contrasty and nice as I would edit them to be. But this is F2. You can see right here where I'm focused. And then, what I'm interested in is just this transition from focus to out of focus. And then I'll jump ahead to, this is going to be the F2 on Ligtht Lens Lab, which I don't want to say a million times. So I'm going to call it the, instead of the 8E, I'm going to call it the, what? The L3? No, LLL. I'm not going to call it the Chinacron. How about the other lens? Okay, so I mean that jumps out to me as very different, right? I'm using sunlight white balance on both of these, so boom, right? It is definitely a cooler lens. And just look at this whole middle section. I mean, one, just to show you that I did indeed focus on the same spot. Right here, boom, and bah, right? That is, uh, I didn't want to be judgy in this video, but I can tell you right now that well, I'll just let you look, right? Right, F2 focus point, right, and then the transition. One you might say is buttery smooth, and the other one is different. So I also don't like the cooler colors. I shoot a lot of slide film that I project in a slide projector, and so I'm not editing my colors. So I do prefer the colors of the Leica. Again, this is f2, and the same kind of thing is happening in this zone too. Let's go to 2.4 though, which there's a little secret to the AD is that there's not a half click stop between 2 and 2.8, but man, my favorite place to shoot it is right between those two clicks. So there we go, right? Zoom back out, come back in, right where I focused. Again, I intentionally didn't start with a center focus subject because it's too easy for a lens. Right, it's when you start to get away from the center that things get more interesting, and where you're paying for really what happens off the center axis. 2.8. At the very least, we can say that very different. It's hard to say that this bottom one is a clone. Okay, moving on. Forgive the images. I just got this lens today. I might return it, so I didn't want to risk damaging it or putting even a speck of dirt on it. So these shots are basically of my desk area. Right, you can see what lens I'm using because here's my AD with the finder attachment slash goggles slash bug eyes, whatever people call them. Again, I don't want to repeat myself with the colors. My focus point here was on the zipper. I was kind of interested here. I kind of thought I might see some glowiness in here. So there's Leica Light Lens Lab, Leica Light Lens Lab, Ezra at f2. And again, if I kind of come in here, and again, remember this is I could sharpen that up, make it look nice and crisp, but so right now Light Lens Lab is on top. You can tell with those cooler colors. I'm using sunlight, and so I never quite know what's happening through the window. Like a cloud could be passing by, but I do use auto ISO, and but look at that. I mean, this is two totally different things, right? This is I mean, look how good that looks, and the along the table and even down in here, right? This is dirtier and not nearly as clear. And okay, moving on. Let's go to this one next. Nothing too interesting here other than um, there's the there's the Ligtht Lens Lab, Ligtht Lens Lab. Let's just look at them like this. Um, that again, the cooler colors are getting to me, and I'd say this Summicron's on the warmer side. Um, Probably what's more interesting here is just like how much darker and kind of gross it is. And again, this is on a crop sensor, so I'm not even out to the edges yet. All right, let's move on. Welcome to my bedroom. I shot this at 2.8. No, 2 and then 5.6. 2, 5.6. So 2, 5.6, 2, 5.6. So I'll admit, when I first looked at these, it wasn't that obvious to me which was which. Which is a good sign, for the Ligtht Lens Lab, that something a little more real world, three-dimensional subjects in lots of different planes and spaces, that I couldn't quickly pick it out. I start to see the temperature difference. My focus is going to be here. I can start to see some differences, like in this section. This bottom one looks a lot better to me. I want to call it accutance, but it's just the sharpness of not your fine detail, but your medium coarse detail. Maybe it's better contrast, better saturation, but I prefer the Leica, just the bottom one. And then, but I was, I thought, oh, maybe, it's just that what's in focus is that front section on the Leica. The focal plane is not always flat, I actually say with the Ligtht Lens Lab, it's definitely not flat, because there's several times where it was tricky to focus on the periphery, which is a clear sign that the focal plane has got some waves to it. But here, that's hard to tell any difference. You might say the Ligtht Lens Lab, maybe has a little more back focusing, so maybe I did. And these comparisons are always tricky, and this is even with a mirrorless focus, right? So that was the f2. And if we look at 5.6, that's my new underwear. Haven't even worn those yet. Good price at Costco right now. I don't know, not much more to say. to it. It makes me a little bit optimistic that maybe if I put the Ligtht Lens Lab out into the real world with some, get away from trying to shoot a poster on the wall, that maybe it'd be even harder to tell them apart. Okay, this one here, pretty boring picture, but what I'm interested in is this section. It's backlight, this little highlight, little specular highlight here. So this is the Leica wide open, and then watch what happens right at just a half click. Can't call it a click, half stop. And then there's 2.8, and then that's is that 4? Might have been 4. And then Ligtht Lens Lab. Yeah, pretty similar. I would say, I think though that, oh, so that's f2 on the Leica, and then that's f2 on Ligtht Lens Lab. That specular highlight, I mean, I know this is a tiny thing, but there's definitely a little more size to that. It makes me, maybe I should explore like it's got the glow. The f2 is the glow, and now I'm no expert, but like, glow is a little bit of like, it's lens flare, and it's, to the people who make lenses, it's an aberration that they try to get rid of. Or at least that's historically what happened, within Leica at least. But it sure makes for some nice photos. And it's nice to have it as an option, right? If f2.4 it goes away, but at f2 you can have the glowiness. So just trying to maybe separate them a little bit on the glow factor with some of my future shots. Here I'm just trying to, I use these little halogen lights here to see what kind of lens flare, ghost, internal reflections I can generate. And it's actually really impressed with the Ligtht Lens Lab here that was the best I could do. Usually I can get all kind of crazy things going on. But then I put on the AD, and yeah, it's pretty comparable. Here I'm focused at 1 meter on both lenses, and yeah, maybe I'm just so biased, but I see that and I'm just like, wow. It's like I've got, man, I'm just got the 80 bias. 80. All right. Now this one, it's not quite a full backlight. The sun is kind of right up above the frame here. This one's interesting. I'll show you quickly. So there's Ligtht Lens Lab, Leica, Ligtht Lens Lab, Leica. But look at this, right? Come in here. I'm going to show you the Ligtht Lens Lab first, right? So, and I kind of cheat here because I know that the Leica lens at f2.4 sharpens up quickly, and so that's what I shot this at. Instead of going wide open, I did a half stop down. But this is Ligtht Lens Lab, and now here's Leica. I mean, it's not even close. I'm not a pixel peeper, right? My favorite film is Kodak XX. It's a medium grain. It is not fine grain. It's 35 millimeter film. So, this stuff's not that important to me. But like this is just getting muddy in here, and it's on both sides of the focus. And again, I'm not choosing something right in the dead center because I usually don't put my subjects in the dead center. Here we go, bokeh. Quick glance, they're pretty similar, but the more I look, the more I see. Here's the Leica. It's got these more defined perimeter, circumference, um, which again, is like often considered a problem, right? Modern bokeh looks a little more smooth and especially on the outer sides, it tends to fade, not be a hard edge. I mean, I don't know. I've got my biases because I've been shooting this lens, but I prefer the Leica lens. But I think they overall did a pretty good job uh, of recreating it. Um, yeah, let's see. I'm almost done. So, uh, again, I'm sorry for the boring shot, but can you tell the difference? Let's get up in here. Uh, Top one is a Leica. All right. And then here, it's I have the goggled version, um, the finder attachment. It's the model for the M3, um, and it has actually closer focusing, so it's down to 65 centimeters, and this one is 70 centimeters. So you can just tell here with the, I just wanted to show like, I'm actually a little closer. And then, I was focusing in this section. We look in the background, we got to take into account that the focus distance was different. So I don't know. Do I want to have some final thoughts on it? I think I guess I'm most troubled by this photo. Um, I'm trying to figure out if I'm even gonna take this lens out of my house or if I'm just gonna pack it up and return it. I do want to. It'd be great to shoot it with some film. See more of the frame. I guess I'd like to get a shot with some three-dimensional depth and some subjects, across different distance planes and a little bit of backlighting, some glow. I don't know. Um, so I don't know. The truth is, I'm trying to get down to 135 millimeter focal length lens, and I'm not going to keep the Ligtht Lens Lab. Um, based on just what I've done already. But, you know, I mean, do I like would I not recommend it to somebody? I don't know. I mean, I would. I would recommend it to somebody. The build quality is great, and it's not a perfect clone of the 8E. But I don't know. I'm gonna stop myself because I did not want to get into, you know, whether or not I was recommending it for somebody else. This is more a video of kind of where I'm at. Okay. Thanks for watching this, and if I get, I don't know, 10 likes on this video, maybe I'll do a follow-up to it. I do have, you know, I think if what else is in my little list of potential 35s, it includes the Summicron 35 2.8 from Leica, which really, if you know, if you're thinking about the Ligtht Lens Lab lens, it's like, you know, the Summicron is really at the similar price point, not the 8E. So I figured that would be an interesting one to include. And then also a couple of the newer Summicrons and Summilux. But I don't know. I think if money was no, if these lenses were all free, I'm pretty sure I know I would get an 8E. I would have two 8Es, one with the goggles and one without. But okay, enough. I would stop this video, except I don't know how.